think that you're heading, towards your star. And so you go in that direction. And then, because you're here, the world looks a particular way, but then when you move here, the world looks different, and you're different as a consequence of having made that voyage. And so what that means is that now that thing that glimmers in front of you is going to have shifted its location, because you weren't very good at specifying it to begin with, and now that you're a little sharper and more focused than you were, it's going to reveal itself with more accuracy to you. And so then you have to take a, it's almost like a 180-degree reversal. But it isn't, because, you've gone this far, and that's a long ways to get that far. But that's a lot farther than you would be if you just stayed where you were, waiting. And so it doesn't matter that you overshoot continually, because as you overshoot, even if you don't learn what you should have done, you're going to continually learn what you shouldn't keep doing.
This is one of the most strangely beautiful things about life. It doesn't matter if you overshoot or if you fail. That's built in, actually. It's what you're supposed to do. If you aim towards something great and give it everything that you have, and then you fail, you did right. You did the right thing, and as long as it doesn't break you, you will become stronger and wiser because of it. So right now, of course it sucks. It's embarrassing, humiliating at times. It hurts. Pain and suffering are a part of the game, the test as well. But Jordan Peterson's words here are so critical to understand. When you miss the mark, when you fail, it doesn't matter. Because as you overshoot, you're going to continue to learn what you shouldn't do. And chances are you'll probably learn a lot about what you should do in the process too. That knowledge and understanding is priceless. It's truly foundational to any form of success.
And if you learn enough about what you shouldn't keep doing, then that's tantamount at some point to learning at the same time what you should be doing. So it's okay. So it's like this. Now, what's cool about it, though, I think, is that as you progress, the degree of overshooting starts to decline, right? And that we know that there's nothing hypothetical about that. As you learn a new skill, like even to play a song on the piano, for example, you overshoot madly. You're making all sorts of mistakes to begin with, and then the mistakes, they disappear. It's okay to wander around stupidly before you fix your destination.
So it's interesting how this works. Failing is mandatory. That's why the average millionaire goes bankrupt 3.5 times in the process of gaining the riches. They're playing a big game with big consequences. And whether you're working with $10,000 or $10 million, you're destined to experience defeat and continual defeat at that, until you build your foundation of understanding that'll keep the castle of your business or career or life standing and strong. And even then, once you've made it, you'll continue to fail. It just won't be as devastating because you'll have a much higher pain tolerance, for one, resilience. And with competence comes confidence and cash, two things that make failing much, much easier. So anyway, you failed, it sucks, but you know you did right. And that this failure's purpose is to make you stronger, wiser, and more resilient. What now? You're lying, bruised and broken at the bottom of this smoldering pit of ash and blood and tears. What do you do to climb out?
Now you see that echoed in Exodus, right? Because what happens is that the Egyptians, or the Hebrews, escape a tyranny, which is kind of whatever you do personally and psychologically when you escape from your previous set of stupidly held and ignorant and stubborn axioms. It's like, away from that tyranny. It's like, great, I freed myself from that. Well, then what? Well, you'd think, well, now I'm on the way. It's, no, you're not. Now you're in the desert, where you wander around stupidly, and worship the wrong things until you finally organize yourself morally again and head in the proper direction.
Let's unpack that idea. What does Peterson mean when he says worship the wrong things? And this is where we start getting into the what now answer, by the way. Worship, from both a psychological and religious standpoint, is giving attention. It's also a sacrifice of your time, energy, thoughts, and often words. Failure is typically caused by worshiping the wrong things, giving your time, thoughts, and attention to something that brings failure at the expense of the things that would have brought success. To recover from failure, ask. Ask, and it will be given to you. It's one of the most ancient, time-tested proverbs. When you ask the right question, you'll get a good answer. A good question can be life-changing because it bridges the gap between heaven and earth, so to speak, between the world of revolutionary breakthrough ideas, revelations, and you. So ask this question: what did I give my time and attention to that caused this failure? Then, what did I not give time and attention to that would have brought success instead? It's a painful discussion to have, but necessary, because it'll help you burn away the unhelpful part of your psyche, replacing it with experiential wisdom, arguably the highest form of learning. Like we already covered, that's precisely why failing is so important. You can also ask, what should I devote the majority of my attention to now?
Direction. So that's worth knowing too, because you think, well, I got rid of a lot of things, baggage, excess baggage that I didn't need in my life, and now everything's okay. It's like, no, it's not. You've got rid of a whole set of scaffolds that were keeping you in place, even though they were pathological. And now you have nothing. And nothing actually turns out to be better than something pathological, but you're still stuck with the problem of nothing. And that's, well, that's exactly why Exodus is structured the way that it is. It's that you escape from a tyranny. It's, hooray, we're no longer slaves. Yeah, well, now you're nihilistic and lost. It's not necessarily an improvement. But it is see, it's also useful to know that, because you can also be deluded into the idea that, imagine that you're trying to become enlightened, which might mean to turn all those parts of you on that could be turned on. You think, well, that's just a linear pathway uphill. You know, it's just from one success to another. No, it's not. It's like, here you are and you're not doing too badly, and the first step is a complete bloody catastrophe. It's worse. And then maybe you can pull yourself together and you hit a new plateau, and then that crumbles and shakes, and bang, it's worse again. And so, because part of the reason that people don't become enlightened is because it's punctuated by intermittent deserts, essentially, by intermittent catastrophes. And if you don't know that, well, then you're basically screwed, because you go ahead on your movement forward and you collapse and you think, well, that didn't work, I collapsed. It's like, no, that's par for the course.
So, good news. Continual failure is par for the course. What do you do with that? One of Jordan Peterson's favorite Nietzsche quotes is, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. At this point in the game, it's time to recreate your why." There are many different ways of doing this. Jordan Peterson's being the Future Authoring Program, which is great, by the way. You can see the link in the description below. But Tony Robbins, love him or hate him, has a great take on this subject.
But if you ask people, why didn't you achieve something? Somebody who's working for you, or a partner, or even yourself, and you failed to achieve a goal, what's the reason people say they failed to achieve? What do they tell you? Didn't know enough, didn't have the knowledge, didn't have the money, didn't have the time, didn't have the technology, I didn't have the right manager. They are a claim to you missing resources. And they may be accurate. You may not have the money. You may not have the Supreme Court. But that is not the defining factor. The defining factor is never resources, it's resourcefulness. And what I mean specifically, rather than just some phrase, is if you have emotion, human emotion, emotion is it. If we get the right emotion, we can get ourselves to do anything. We can get through it. If you're creative enough, playful enough, fun enough, can you get through to anybody, yes or no? If you don't have the money, but you're creative or determined enough, you find the way. So this is the ultimate resource. What determines your resources? We've said decisions shape destiny, which is my focus here. If decisions shape destiny, what determines it is 3 decisions. What are you going to focus on? Right now, you have to decide what you're going to focus on. In this second, consciously or unconsciously, the minute you decide to focus on something, you got to give it a meaning. And whatever that meaning is produces emotion. Is this the end or the beginning? Your model of the world is what shapes you long term. Your model of the world is the filter. That's what's shaping us. That's what makes people make decisions. We want to influence somebody, we got to know what already influences them. And it's made up of 3 parts, I believe. First, what's your target? What are you after? Which I believe it's not your desires. You can get your desires to goals. How many of you got a goal, desire, and thought, is this all there is? How many have been there? Say aye. So it's needs we have. I believe there are 6 human needs. Second, once you know what the target that's driving you is and you uncover it for the truth, you don't form it, you uncover it. Then you find out what's your map. What's the belief systems that are telling you how to get those needs? Some people think the way to get those needs is destroy the world. Some people is to build something, create something, love someone. And then there's the fuel you pick. So very quickly, 6 needs. Let me tell you what they are. First one, certainty. Now these are not goals or desires, these are universal. Everyone needs certainty that they can avoid pain and at least be comfortable. Now how do you get it? Control everybody, develop a skill, give up, smoke a cigarette. And if you got totally certain, ironically, even though we all need that, like if you're not certain about your health or your children or money, you don't think about much more. You're not sure the ceiling's gonna hold up, you're gonna listen to any speaker. But while we go for certainty differently, if we get total certainty, we get what? What do you feel if you're certain? You know what's gonna happen, when it's gonna happen, how it's gonna happen. What would you feel? Bored out of your mind. So God, in her infinite wisdom, gave us a second human need, which is uncertainty. We need variety. We need surprise. How many of you here love surprises? Say aye. Bullshit. You like the surprises you want. The ones you don't want, you call problems, but you need them. So variety is important. Have you ever rented a video or a film that you've already seen? Who's done this? Get a fucking life. Right? Why are you doing it? You're certain it's good because you read it before, saw it before, but you're hoping it's been long enough you've forgotten enough there's variety. Third human need, critical, significance. We all need to feel important, special, unique. You can get it by making more money. You can do it by being more spiritual. You can do it by getting yourself in a situation where you put more tattoos and earrings in places humans don't want to know. Whatever it takes. The fastest way to do this, if you have no background, no culture, and no belief in resources or resourcefulness, is violence. If I put a gun to your head and I live in the hood, instantly I'm significant. 0 to 10, how high? 10. How certain am I you're gonna respond to me? 10. Now you can get significance a million ways, but to be significant, you gotta be unique and different. Here's what we really need. Connection and love, 4th need. We all want it. Most people settle for connection because love's too scary. But here's what's true, we need it. We can do it through intimacy, through friendship, through prayer, through walking in nature. If nothing else works for you, get a dog. Don't get a cat, get a dog. Now these first 4 needs, every human finds a way to meet. Even if you lie to yourself, even if you have split personalities. But the last 2 needs, the first 4 needs are called the needs of the personality, is what I call it. The last 2 are the needs of the spirit. And this is where fulfillment comes. You won't get fulfillment from the first 4. You'll figure a way, smoke, drink, do whatever, meet the first 4. But the last 2, number 5, you must grow. We all know the answer here. If you don't grow, you what? If a relationship's not growing, if a business is not growing, if you're not growing, it doesn't matter how much money you have, how many friends you have, how many people love you, you feel like hell. And the reason we grow, I believe, is so we have something to give of value. Because the 6th need is to contribute beyond ourselves. Because we all know, corny as it sounds, the secret of living is giving. We all know life's not about me, it's about we. This culture knows that, this room knows that. And it's exciting. When you see Nicholas up here talking about his $100 computer, the most passionate, exciting thing is here's a genius, but he's got a calling now. You can feel the difference in him, and it's beautiful. And that calling can touch other people. In my own life, my life was touched because when I was 11 years old, Thanksgiving, no money, no food, and we're not gonna starve, but my father was totally messed up. My mom was letting him know how bad he messed up. And somebody came to the door and delivered food. My father made 3 decisions. I know what they were briefly. His focus was, this is charity. What does it mean? I'm worthless. What do I gotta do? Leave my family, which he did. At the time, one of the most painful experiences of life. My 3 decisions gave me a different path. I said, focus on, there's food, what a concept. You know? Second, but this is what changed my life. This is what shaped me as a human being. Somebody's gift, I don't even know who it is. I thought, my father always said, no one gives a shit. And all of a sudden, somebody I don't know, they're not asking for it, this is giving our family food, looking out for us. It made me believe this. What does it mean? That strangers care. And what that made me decide is if strangers care about me and my family, I care about them. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna do something to make a difference. So when I was 17, I went out one day on Thanksgiving. It was my target for years. Have enough money to feed 2 families. Most fun thing I ever did in my life, most moving. Then next year I did 4, and I didn't tell anybody what I was doing. Next year, 8. I wasn't doing it for brownie points, but after 8, I thought, shit, I could use some help. So sure enough, I went out, and what did I do? I got my friends involved, and I grew companies, and then I got 11 companies, and I built the foundation. Now, 18 years later, I'm proud to tell you, last year we fed 2 million people in 35 countries through our foundation, all during the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, in all the different countries around the world. It's been fantastic. Thank you. So I don't tell you that to brag. I tell you because I'm proud of human beings because they get excited to contribute once they've had the chance to experience it, not talk about it. So finally, I'm about out of time, the target that shapes you, here's what's different about people. We have the same needs, but are you a certainty freak? Is that what you value most, or uncertainty? This man here couldn't be a certainty freak if he climbed through those caves. Are you driven by significance or love? We all need all 6, but whatever your lead system is tilts you in a different direction. And as you move in a direction, you have a destination or destiny. And so my invitation to you is this. Explore your web, the web in here. The needs, the beliefs, the emotions that are controlling you for 2 reasons. So there's more of you to give. Achieve too. We all want to do it, but I mean give, because that's what's going to fill you up. And secondly, so you can appreciate, not just understand, that's intellectual, that's mind, but appreciate what's driving other people. It's the only way our world's going to change.
At this point, it's time to make your decision and take action. An old Egyptian proverb says, whoever lets himself be led by the ib will never lose his way. Ib being the seat of intuition and wisdom in a person, the heart, more or less. Paying attention to the guiding star that is your intuition is absolutely critical at this point. And the biggest thing to avoid is inaction. It's not easy to get back on a horse after being thrown off. Not only does it hurt, you now realize how dangerous it can be. People get paralyzed and even die from getting thrown off a horse, and pursuing success in life is the same. Whether it's your business, career, relationships, actualization of some other sort, individuation. Many people have died pursuing these exact same things. The Japanese word karoshi means death from overwork. It refers to death caused by the mental stress and emotional pain that leads to strokes, heart attacks, and suicide. Make no mistake, the path is dangerous, but the path of inaction is no less dangerous. It's far worse, in fact. I'm going to read a section from Jordan B. Peterson's Beyond Order, 12 More Rules for Life that I think is very relevant. Those who do not choose a direction are lost. It is far better to become something than to remain anything but become nothing. This is despite all the genuine limitations and disappointments that becoming something entails. Everywhere the cynic despairs are bad decisions, but someone who has transcended that cynicism, or more accurately, replaced it with an even more profound doubt, that is, the doubt that doubt itself is an ultimately reliable guide, objects. The worst decision of all is none.
The fact that you're full of faults doesn't mean you have to stop. And thank God for that. That's a really useful thing. And the fact that you're full of faults doesn't mean that you can't learn. And so you can posit an ideal, and you're going to be wrong about it, but it doesn't matter, because what you're right about is positing the ideal, moving towards it. If the actual ideal isn't conceptualized perfectly, well, first, surprise, surprise, because like, what are you going to do that's perfect? So it doesn't matter that it's imperfect. It just matters that you do it and that you move forward. So that's really positive news as far as I'm concerned, because you can actually do that, right? You can do it badly. Anyone can do that. So that's useful. Okay, so like if you were an efficient person, you would have just done that. But you're not. But who cares? You know, you still end up in the same place. And maybe the trip is even more interesting. Who knows? Probably too interesting.